Dave Palumbo here, and today we're going to be talking about breeding ball pythons, hunger strikes in ball pythons, and when is the right age to breed your snake. Stay tuned. All right, so today's video is going to be a little different than what we've done in the past. I'm not going to be in my snake room pulling out babies and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not at expos interviewing people. This is more of an informational video. And once again, I'm not the expert of experts, but you know, I've been breeding snakes for about 6 years now, and I've gathered a lot of data. And what I'm going to tell you what I've learned, at least from ball pythons, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And here's my little Snow girl. She's a TSK Snow, and she's produced a couple litters for me. And the interesting thing is that I found is that I love to, and I think everyone out there would love to get a female, grow her up fast, and then breed her, right, as quickly as possible, because that's the goal. And that's what we do with our males. And the males, true to form, they breed pretty quickly. You could breed male at 6 months old, you know, if you get lucky enough. But females are a little trickier, and ball pythons are interesting. You know, in the fitness world, and that's where I come from, you know, one of the in-fad type of new things to do is what's called intermittent fasting. It means only eating like 8 or 10 hours out of the day. Some people do even less. You know, usually it's about 8 hours out of the day, and the rest of the day you fast. It's called intermittent fasting, and people do it for weight loss. They do it for longevity purposes. It's really for longevity purposes, and they say that the less you're exposed to food, the more your body can regenerate itself. And it's funny, but unlike other snake species, ball pythons seem to have that built into their genetics, that intermittent fasting. Except obviously snakes don't eat every day and several meals a day. They intermittently fast throughout the year, meaning that they'll just stop eating. So you got a female, you're feeding her as a baby, and she's growing great, and you're like, man, I'm gonna breed this girl next year. I'm gonna do it in 1 year. And then all of a sudden, the brakes come on, and the snake will not eat. It will stop eating. And if you're inexperienced like I was, and we all were at one point, we start panicking, right? We're like, this snake, there's something wrong with it. This guy who sold it to me, he sold me a bad snake. Or the snake must be sick. It looks like it's not moving much. It's not eating. I don't know what to do. And you're panicking. You're trying to figure out all these different tricks. You're buying African soft-tailed, you know, rats. You're buying all kinds of scents. You're scenting it. You put it in the car and you take it for a drive. You change the cage. You go from paper. You go to shavings. You give it a hide box. You try everything, and this snake will not eat. It doesn't matter. There's no tricks that's going to get this thing to eat, because most of the time these snakes stop eating at some point because they're programmed genetically to stop eating. So whether it be a year old or a little under that or a little over that, the snake has some kind of genetic programming to say, okay, stop. We're growing too fast. Okay, we don't need this nutrients. We're going to go through some kind of I call it the solidification phase, where the snake is actually maybe growing internally, not externally, and it's maturing. If it's a female, and it's becoming an adult snake. And there's nothing we can do to speed this up. And you'll notice that at some point, out of nowhere, the snake will just start eating again. And when it starts eating, man, it will start pounding food, and it will grow. And it always seems to work out that at the same, you know, whatever, 2.5, 3.5 years old, they mature and they're ready to breed. Now, you know, I've heard other snake breeders say this: don't rush your animals. You know, you don't need to breed them at 2.5 years old. Wait till 3, 4 years old. That's when they're going to breed the best. And you know what the truth is? I made all the mistakes and all the amateur mistakes. I try to breed my snakes early, and they never produced good clutches. Usually they were slugs, infertile eggs, you know, or they just didn't go, these females. And what I found is when they hit that 3 to 3.5 year mark, they pound food and they produce great clutches. And no one wants to wait that long. We all know that. No one will admit it. Everyone tries to pretend like they're this super cool breeder. Everyone wants clutches quickly, but I've just come to realize that, you know what, I'm at a point where I have enough breeding females that I'm just going to wait. And when they hit that 3.5 year mark, they breed. And they produce good clutches, and the eggs are all great, and they don't get egg bound, and they deliver fine. And guess what? They eat. And then after they give birth, usually they'll start eating again, or they may go through a period where they don't eat, and then they know, these animals know. You don't ever see a very fat ball python, because these animals know when to stop eating. We think the ball pythons are dumb because they live in termite mounds and they roll up in balls, but they're really not. They're really super smart, and they're intuitive eaters, and they know when they need food. so they can produce babies, and when they don't need food, they fast, and there's nothing you can do to get them to eat. Now, a little trick that I use is I don't feed my ball pythons frozen thawed, because I don't have the patience or the time to wiggle that thing and hopefully get this thing to eat. I give them live food, and luckily I'm lucky because I have a guy who delivers live food to me, so I can give them, you know, mice or rats or et cetera, et cetera. And it just seems easier, especially when you have a lot of snakes. When you don't have a lot of snakes, and you have 20 snakes, you can sit and wiggle the frozen thawed and get them to eat, hopefully. And usually when they hit a stage where they're really pounding food, you know, and they're eating, you know, medium rats, they'll eat frozen thawed as easily as they'll eat the live ones. But I just, you know, once again, if you have someone who's going to deliver food to you, or you have a good food source, you know, local to you that you can use live food, or you breed yourself the rats or mice, it's a lot easier for ball pythons. Now, if you're talking about boa constrictors and carpet pythons and all pythons, they'll eat anything. It doesn't even take any time. I feed all my boas frozen thawed because I can just wiggle and they take it in 3 seconds. It's not a chore. Ball pythons, much smarter than people think. Once again, don't rush your snakes. They'll tell you when they're ready to breed. And you know what? I have a female. This thing pounded food from the minute. She never stopped eating. Up to size. She's about 2 years old. I thought she was going to go this year. I put a male with her. She didn't breed. She was the right size to breed, but she didn't breed because she wasn't ready. They know. These snakes are genetically programmed. They know when they're going to breed. Most females and most python females and even the boas know when they're going to breed. You could try to rush them. You can put the males in with them. You can get them up to size. They'll breed when they're ready. And that's my words of wisdom for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit like, make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on. I'm Dave Palumbo with another installment of Muscle Serpents University.